way. But my walls came down when your love shone through. Now my life will never be the same. You love me too much to let me stay this way. Jesus, there's freedom in your name. You break every chain, oh Lord. 'Cause you are above every name.
All right, welcome to the Warriors Way. Our Warriors this week are Dan and Arlene. Say good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right, before we get to them, if this is your first time, you've not gone to spiritualwarfareunit.com, go there, click on that. Check out the nonprofits that we have under struggling. And if you are struggling with food or clothes or baby formula or mental health, please click on to one of our partners. You can go there for free and get some help. And if you're doing good, we all know somebody who is struggling, so help us, help them, help you. Thanks for popping on. All right, good morning. How are we doing this morning?
Doing well.
Doing well. All right, so I met you guys at the Back to the Bricks, the Deps and Dogs setup, and you had a car there, and it was your son's car, and he was a sheriff's deputy. Is that correct?
He was a West Bloomfield police officer.
West Bloomfield police officer. Okay, so you have completely redone his car, and I saw you on there. You started telling me the story, and I said, I have to have you on the show. Okay, so you guys did the car, and we're not going to tell anybody why. We're just going to get the story, and then we're going to finish with that, okay?
All right, about the car.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But it'll be in the story. Okay, so what year was your son born?
1972.
All right.
December 11th.
December 11th of 72. And you had how many children?
4.
And what was he in the pecking order?
He was the baby.
He was the baby.
He was the youngest one.
Okay. So Dan is the youngest one, and he grew up in the 70s. Okay. And what was he like as a kid?
Just a happy, normal kid as far as, I can remember.
Yeah? Same thing? Just happy?
And
Okay.
just, yeah.
All right. So when he went to school, was he shy? Was he like boisterous? Did he get along with people?
No, Pat was never a shy person that I can remember. He was always kind of, like I say, the one with the microphone, if you will.
Okay, so he's just outgoing, even as a little kid.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, boy, he must have been a dater then when it came to the girls. So we'll get to that. All right. So when he was growing up, where did you guys live?
We lived in Livonia when Pat was born.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, the school was right across the street.
Elementary school?
Yeah, and he went to, what was that?
Oh, prep.
Prep. Yeah, the Kirksey.
Parent Readiness Education Program.
Yeah, because his birthday was in December, so,
Yeah.
It kind of felt like a year behind.
Yeah.
So
I was an
like
October
one of the
baby.
older kids.
Yeah, I was an October baby, so I ended up I was the youngest by a long shot.
Yeah, it was September myself, so yeah.
Yeah, I fell behind I was always the littlest guy in
The 17-year-olds at
Exactly.
graduation, yeah.
Exactly. All right, so he's growing up, and you lived in Livonia. Was that like a safe place? Was it rich place? Was it medium? What was it like?
I'd say maybe middle-class area. It's a nice upper middle class.
Upper middle class. I was gonna say-
At the west end of Livonia. Right
Yeah,
by
west.
By Plymouth Township.
Yeah, anybody in Michigan knows that's where all the big money is. They all know that's the truth. So let's just throw that one out there. So all right, so you're living in the upper middle class. Good for you. And what did you do?
I was a skilled tradesman at Ford Motor Company, machine
Wow.
repairman.
Okay. And so you were married and had 4 kids, and he was the youngest. And so by the time he was 10 or 11, like, is his personality still, was he already that guy?
Well, when we moved from Livonia out to Heartland when he was about 5.
So this had been 77?
78.
78?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was a little bit of an adjustment because we had moved from a neighborhood out to a rural area. We're out in the middle of nowhere on 10 acres. So making that adjustment, making friends, the schools were miles and miles apart.
Wow.
So it took a little while for the kids to, get acclimated and to make friends.
So it was a country kind of.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Pretty much so, yeah.
So you're going from downtown having everything to do to the country and have nothing to do.
Yeah, big change. Heartland now is, like well, it's a whole lot different than it was back then. You know, there was a lumberyard, a pharmacy, a grocery store, a truck stop, and a coffee shop, and a McDonald's. That was pretty much it back then.
Right. Well, you know, it's going to turn into a big town if it's got a McDonald's. You know, that's it's got a McDonald's and one light. You're good. And my kids, they grew up in Montrose, so you know, same kind of deal. McDonald's, one light, whole deal. All right, so he's going into high school then, in the school, living in the sticks, and I'm sure he acclimated. I mean, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the thing that really got them socialized with other kids was sports.
So he's a sports guy.
Yeah, well,
Oh, yeah.
all the boys played baseball, you know, little league and summer leagues. And,
Okay.
And that's even how I got to make friends. you
Well, of
know,
course.
Sitting in the...
Yeah, you got your chairs, and how they doing this week? Did you bring door slices? Yeah.
So, you know, they had a lot of friends that kind of didn't live really close. You know.
And then he had 3 other siblings to
brothers.
break the ice for him. So
Yeah, and
right.
having 3 brothers, the 4 of them, they kind of entertained each other. You know, we had a lot of area out there that Dan mowed, they would play baseball or football. Or,
Wow.
You know, so just the 4 of them.
So what position did he play?
I think they all played, wasn't it like center field?
Yeah, they would play the infield,
Pat
outfield.
pitched a little bit in the small,
All right.
the younger league.
So did he ever go, like in high school, did they ever make it to the finals or go anywhere like that?
Their team did win. I think he was a senior in high school, and they had won some big tournament.
Some big tournament?
Yeah.
Probably the state tournament?
Yeah, and
He
I've
played
got a-
ball all through high school, Pat.
Yeah, I've got
Okay.
a picture of him where they were piling on, you know. I think he had made the last run or something.
Ah.
He's right on the bottom, and there's like
They're
12
just
of
killing
them
him, huh?
on.
Big pile, you know, at the end of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so he graduates in what year?
91?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, 'cause it would have been a year after Scott,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
because of his December birthday, it ended
Yeah,
up
yeah.
being 2 years.
yeah.
All right, so he graduates in December and he graduates in 91 and he decides to do what?
He wanted to be an English teacher.
An English teacher.
Yeah, because when he was in high school, he did very well in.
He
you
was
know,
an honor student all through
Yeah.
high school.
Wow.
So they wanted him to tutor kids with closed head injuries.
Wow.
You know, because they were having difficulties.
Yeah, English is tough.
Yeah.
I are smart.
And,
Boo-bee.
and Patrick loved doing that. He said he got such a thrill when they would get something, you know,
Yeah.
when they would comprehend something.
Because it's so hard. Like, people ask me what it's like a lot. And the answer I always tell them, I said, in thinking, it's like running up a mud hill in the rain with rubber boots on. And that's what it's like to think. It's just, you got to really focus on one thing. And then you get that one thing. And then you got to start again. And it's exhausting, you know. And people, well, it's not that hard. It's like, yeah, for you, no problem. So, yeah, so he was just somebody that liked to give out and smart, sports person. What was his dating life like in high school?
Well, he had a couple of steady girlfriends.
Did he? They were steady?
Yeah. They were long-term relationships that he had.
Yeah, see, I had twin girls, so I didn't like boys for like, I just don't like them, you know. And now they got a fiance and a husband, and I like them boys, but the other ones, I didn't like them. I probably could have been nicer, but I wasn't. And that pains of having good-looking
You
daughters.
don't like them because you know who they are.
Oh yeah, I know why you're here.
know, yeah.
Yeah, good to see you, jerk. Tom, Dave, whatever your name is, right? And it's just like, "Rah!" And you just like, man, yeah. Anyway, so bringing all that rage up. Thanks. Okay, so he graduates. He's going to be an English teacher. So does he go to college or?
Yeah, he started out at Michigan State, but he just wasn't ready to settle down, and it was too big.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they basically asked him to leave, and he ended up going to Oakland Community College.
Yeah, OCC. Okay.
And,
So he transferred after his first semester.
I think it was, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he ended up getting his associates.
Yeah, you know, I wasn't big on paying their way through school. you
Right.
know. I mean, I knew too many guys who just went and partied and screwed up. So I figured, well, they got their skin in the game, they're going to, buckle down. And they pretty much all paid their way.
Mm.
You know, and that leads into how he became a police officer.
Well, we paid their room and board. We
Right.
told them they could live at home.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They paid their own tuition.
Yeah.
And they all worked a couple jobs, McDonald's or something like that. They were able to do it. They got through.
That's great. That's a lot more than some people get. Believe me.
See, this comes right up to where he got on the road to the career that he ended up in.
Well, we're getting there. Don't jump the gun. We're getting
No,
there.
I'm just-
The setup's important. All right. So he's going to school. He goes to OCC. What is his major English still?
Yeah, it was.
All right. So he's going to, but the first 2 years is just getting your basics anyways, right? All right. So he's getting his basics. He gets his 60 credit mark for associate's degree, and then what happens?
Well, that's kind of where,
You first got to know the older brothers. Scott was the brain. He's a CPA and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Danny was a lot like Pat, personality-wise, type A out there, And Rick, the oldest boy, he joined the Navy and worked on the nuclear submarines. And
So he's smart too.
yeah,
Yeah, you gotta be smart to do those.
Danny wanted to be a cop. He wanted to be one. That was his.
But when did that happen?
Well, I don't know. He just decided he wanted to be. I don't know.
he just took the Malazzi.
Yeah, he took that test. They called it the Malazzi Michigan Law Officers thing. It's called MCOLS now.
Yeah.
Test. But Danny was like my size. Maybe 5.5 feet tall and 150 or whatever.
Yeah.
And he couldn't pass that test. He just couldn't. The guys had to do something a lot different than the women then.
Yeah.
He couldn't carry this 80-pound bag upstairs and
Or the dummy pull.
climb over the wall, and he had trouble getting over the wall.
It's tough.
He paid that for that test, I think, 3 different times. He took it, he flunked it each time, but just by a hair. So at my 35th high school reunion, now see, I grew up with the same bunch of guys. We all hung together.
Yeah.
And one of the guys, Ronnie, he became a Detroit cop back in the 1960s. And we laughed, but, Cronin being a cop, how could he was the biggest screw up you ever knew in school, but
Okay.
he got serious, went to Mercy, got his degrees and all this stuff, and he went up the ranks in Detroit.
Okay.
He ended up way up there. His rank was inspector when he retired.
Wow.
That's above captains and
Yeah.
commanders and all that list. And when he retired from Detroit, West Bloomfield hired him as the chief.
Right.
Bang, like that.
Yeah.
Dwyer was the chief in Farmington. Those two were like this. So at my 35th reunion, the old gang were all sitting together, and Ron, his twin brother Donnie.
Mm-hmm.
And Ron, hey, talk like that. He says, hey, did your kid ever get a job? And I says, nah, I couldn't pass the Malazzi. He says, hey, what about the other one? I said, what do you mean? He says, the big one. I said, what, Pat? He goes, yeah. He says, he don't want to be a cop. He has no interest in that.
Yeah.
Because I knew what he wanted to do at that time. And he says, send him over, because he was working at Mac Valves, a place in Wixom, I think it is.
Okay.
And he'd going to school and stuff. And he says, send him over, I'll give him a job. He worked the front desk. It'd be easy job, clean. He says, yeah, all right, I'll tell him.
Yeah.
So I asked him, Pat, you want to go over there? Hey, Ron wants you to come over. He'll hire you. He said, I don't want to do that. Kept bugging him, and it's clean, nice job.
Yeah.
So he says, all right, so he went over there, and then the next day I called him and said, how'd it go? He says, they're not hiring anybody. What do you mean? He says, no, the guy told me to come back when, they see a posting or something to that effect.
Yeah.
So I felt bad. I hung up,
Yeah.
Took about 10 steps away from the phone. The phone rings, and it's Cronin. So I pick up the phone, and all I hear is, O'Rourke. He's yelling at me. He says, I thought I told you that kid come talk to me. I says, I did. He says, he talked to the effing captain. You haven't come talk to me. So I called him back. I says, hey, you want Cronin? Why don't you go? He goes, oh, I'm not going over there now.
Yeah.
Guy, you got to go. He wants you to come. Go straight to his office. He says, oh, I don't want to go. It's all right, I'll go. So he went. They hired him. And he owned the place in 3 years.
All right.
You know what I mean?
We got to go to our first break. This is a perfect place to take a spot so it gets in there. If you've not gone to spiritualwarfareuunit.com, please check that out. Like, share, and subscribe. Sit tight. We'll be right back. For churches and nonprofits in the area that are trying to find programming that they can use in case in case the corona shuts you down and you're not able to get in, you go to spiritualwarfareunit.com. You click on our episodes, and you can check out our programs for as little as $29.99 a month to make sure that we're still getting the word out to those people that need it. Now, back to the program. His voice is so funny. All right, welcome back to the Warrior's Way. Our warrior this week is Dan and Arlene O'Rourke, and they are here talking about their son they had to beat and twist and break his arm to even get to interview to go in there. So, and I can understand him going, I'm definitely not going if the captain said don't do it, and I'll go talk to me about it. There's obviously some, and I know how that works. So, all right, so he goes in there, he talks to him, and he hires him for the front desk job.
Yeah, he was a cadet.
Okay, so what happened after that?
Well, he did that cadet job for a couple of years, and then they sent him to the police academy.
Okay, so he was a front desk guy?
Well, he was sort of, what cadets do, a little bit of everything. They're sort of like, I don't know, like cop apprentices, I guess you'd call them. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to go. Cop apprentice. I never heard of it. That makes sense. Yeah, they sit there and they do the jobs, and it's 12.
Cop intern.
Yeah. So it's 12 hours. 12-hour shifts is what he was doing?
Running down Detroit, doing errands for the chief, back and forth, just I don't know exactly what they do.
All right, and just fill everybody in. What's his size? Is he tall, short, fat, wide?
Well, he was a head taller and about 100 pounds heavier than me.
And he had shoulders about.
Wide as a doorway.
Yeah.
How Travolta.
All right, so he's a block.
Yeah.
He's a giant block.
Big guy.
So he's probably like 6'3", probably 2.
Well, he wasn't 6'3", he was probably
5'11".
5'11",
So 6
5'11"
foot.
and a half. He's just built like
He's real wide.
built like a bear.
Like a bear. All
You
right.
can kind of see it in that one.
Yeah. No, he's definitely wide. He just looked tall in that picture. So he's about 6 foot, and I'm guessing 230 in that picture.
Well, when he graduated from the police academy, he was 235, and that was the.
And that's when he's light.
Heart of
That's
the
his
rock.
fighting weight,
Yeah, that's fighting weight. He's 235. Yikes! What a monster. All right, so he's a bear. All right, so what year is this? He graduates from the police academy.
2000.
2000.
Okay, so in 2000 he graduates, and you said this was 2 years after he started. All right, so he gets in, and he's what does he do after he graduates?
Well, he's on the road.
He went to the road. Okay, well they don't always do that,
Yeah.
Oh, well, he's with an FTO, a field training officer, for a while. Mm-hmm. And that's another funny story, because we're at the Woodward Dream Cruise thing, that emergency vehicle show.
Yeah.
And Tim Hamilton, he's since retired. He was one of the officers over there. Mm-hmm. He was, I think at that one time, he was Pat's FTO for a while. And Cronin calls him into the office, Chief Cronin. He says, hey, Hammy, come in here. This is the way Hamilton told it to us.
Yeah.
He says, hey, Hammy, come in here. He says, how's the kid doing? He says, who? He says, Pat. He says, oh, he's doing great. He says, he was made for the job. He says, oh, that's good to hear. He says, the only other thing he could possibly be doing besides this would be being a priest.
Those are 2 jobs, huh?
Yeah.
A police officer or a priest. That's funny.
Yeah, because Pat was, a very devoutly religious man. Mm-hmm. But not in a preachy kind of way. Pat would, I guess, set people straight just by seeing how happy he seemed to be and how content everything seemed to be with him.
Yeah.
He lived by his example.
Yeah, he didn't talk to talk. Pat walked the walk.
Yeah, that's always the people you're looking for, right? People that are going to walk the walk. All right, so he's in there, he's walking. You said, right before the break, you said within 3 years he owned the place. We're right at that 3-year mark. So what did you mean by he owned the place? What did that mean?
I just meant that he got along with everybody. I mean, even guys who hated each other, he got along with both of them. He was just that kind of guy.
All right, so you just fit in hand and glove.
Yeah.
He's everybody's buddy.
Everybody liked him.
All right, so so he graduates from the FTO with his field training officer, and he goes on the road, and he is in West Bloomfield?
Yeah.
All right. And now what shift is he doing?
Probably all of them.
Because they normally start him off on the night.
Working afternoons.
6P to 6A?
Yeah.
All right.
But after a couple of years on the job, he got selected to work in something called the Sonic Unit.
All right.
That's a South Oakland County Narcotics Intervention Consortium.
Wow.
And it's with the Drug Enforcement Agency, the county, and a couple of hand-picked guys from 3 or 4 different departments.
And what is their direct...
They were multi-jurisdictional. They went everywhere, wherever the job took them.
For drug
enforcement.
busting? All right. So he's doing undercover?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh.
And he was a breacher. Pat was the big guy with
The door,
bust the doors down.
Yeah, the door knocker.
That's the
There you
irony.
go.
That's what I tell the cadets, that, it's human nature to feel safe in a nice neighborhood and to be, all amped up if you're going in some, old slummy area where
Yeah.
domestics going on. But Pat worked they kept him 7 years on that job.
Wow, that's a long
In
time.
the unit, yeah. And after 7 years, he never got a scratch in that. And she was always terrified because Pat.
Well, of
showed
course
her-
she is.
She showed him one time he opened the trunk because he had his own special unit.
Yeah.
The car with the dummy license plate and all. And he had this 80-pound vest and a helmet,
Yeah.
all that stuff they wear when they go
Yeah.
on these raids. And he never got a scratch. And the irony is that he lost his life in $1 million+ mansion out there near Orchard Lake.
Yeah.
I should mention that when he did come off of Sonic, the reason was they were expecting their fourth child. He and his wife were expecting their fourth child. And in the way his schedule was being a detective, he was on call all the time.
Right.
And his wife is a neonatal nurse.
Up here at Hurley.
So they never did paid for child care. They always, had their schedules so that one of them were home with the kids. Well, when Amy became pregnant with Stevie, they just knew they couldn't handle his schedule, so he went back on patrol.
I got you.
That was the reason that.
So
he
for
came
a safer job.
yeah, well,
ironically.
yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
about that because when you pull somebody.
Yeah, no,
over,
roads
you
not
don't
safe.
know, yeah, but they had to do it for the sake of the kids.
Right. I'm just saying, like, if you're looking at it, this versus this seems safer than this,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah, which.
Yeah, in reality, no.
All right, so what year was that when that happened? Was that 2007?
It was 2011 is the year that that Stephen was born. So it was early 2011 that Pat came off of Sonic.
All right. So he's got the experience, he's got the respect of his men, and goes back into the field. Son is born. Bring us to the moment. What happens?
Well, there was a Sunday night. There was he was working afternoon shift,
Mm-hmm.
and him and one of the other guys, Todd Metcalf, his best friend, they come together car to car, late in the night, talking about what an easy night it was.
He
Sunday
was
night.
working afternoons
Yeah,
that
no-
time.
Okay.
Hardly any runs at all,
Right.
And so Todd went his way, Pat went his way, and they were back at the station, doing reports and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And a call comes in about a suicidal
Shots fired.
man.
Shots fired.
Huh?
Shots fired.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know if they
Yeah,
were.
that was it.
But anyways, yeah, the mother, I think, called the police.
Mhm.
Mom
No,
or
it
the
was
brother?
I think it was the brother.
Yeah, anyway, they called the police, said, my son had told her that he'll see her on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy was divorced, and he was not a real nice guy. He slapped his wife around. She divorced him, and
Okay.
the guy used to be a big shot at Ford Motor Company, and that's
Yeah.
another whole side story. But,
Yep.
But anyway, they went over there, and when they got over there, pow, they heard a gunshot.
Okay.
So Pat went around, and again, this is a neighborhood of these big mansion houses.
Yeah, yeah.
Pat went around all the neighbors and told them, go down the basement or get in your car and leave because there's gunfire. We don't know what's
Wow.
going to happen. Da, da, da. So they waited a few minutes and had sound equipment on the house. Didn't even hear a floor creak.
Mm.
So they said, we got to go in, see if he's alive.
Yeah.
So they all made entry into the home. And believe it or not, Pat was their big expert on hazardous
Yeah.
entry all the years in the undercover unit. And they went in. Pat had the big thing to knock the door down because the guy was barricaded in the bedroom.
Yeah.
The front two guys had shields and handguns.
Yeah.
The next two guys had the ARs.
Yeah.
And lead man yelled out, Ricky, are you okay? The guy's name was Ricky Coley.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Ricky, are you okay? And the guy opened up with an Uzi. Up and all over the walls.
Right
There's a
through
long
the-
stairway,
right
goes up
through
like
the
this and a
drywall.
long hallway, overlooked an area down below. It's a big
Yeah.
mansion.
Yeah.
And the master suite was up there above that other stuff, the long hallway.
All right, hold on a minute. Okay. So this dude takes a shot. They tell everybody, get out of there, tell the neighbors. So this is taking some time. This is like 30 minutes or something, I would think.
Probably that
Before
an
entry.
hour.
So
Yeah.
this dude's sitting in there. So he's sitting in there with an Uzi after he took these shots.
Yeah. I believe to lure them up in there, I swear.
Well, why else would you do it, right? That's what I'm that's what I'm thinking. So it's okay.
So this guy lets off about 40, 50
So
rounds.
did they hold on. So did they make entry and then he shot, or before they made entry he shot?
He fired one shot. One shot, pow.
Yeah.
When they got there, they were out in the street.
Yeah, and that's when they told everybody to leave, and then when they made entry
Then they made entry. When they were in there, it wasn't until they were in the hallway and yelled out, "Ricky, are you okay?"
Yeah.
That he opened up with the machine gun
Wow.
Yeah,
from the
Okay.
inside through the walls.
They thought they were going in to save him. They thought he had maybe
Had to
hurt
check, see if he
himself.
was alive.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I got you.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right.
then
So
they-
we're all thinking of the same thing.
And
Okay.
Pat's code name when he was on the undercover was Rudy, and that name stays with him forever on the job.
Yeah.
So they heard him yell, "Rudy, down." One of those bullets went through a wall stud, caught Pat right here, and that was it for him.
Yeah.
The miracle is that all 5 weren't killed, but they dragged Pat out, and they got out of there.
Yeah.
And this was about 10:45, I think, on Sunday evening,
Wow.
and it didn't come to a conclusion until 6:30 Monday night.
Wow.
That gunfight went on all day long. The national news, the helicopters, the departments from the state police, the Homeland Security. There was every neighboring department. Everybody was there. It was all cordoned off.
Yeah.
Sort of a Pontiac Trail in Halstead in that area.
Wow.
And that's when Powell called. A
What-
friend of mine lived in Dana Point, California.
Yeah,
at the
so when-
time.
so
he
what-
called, said, "I'm sorry about your son." I said, "How do you know?" He said, "It's on the national news." Because this thing went on all day long.
Hold on. You found out because someone called you because it was on the news?
No.
Oh, geez.
We found out about it because, heck, she'd gone to bed. I was asleep.
Yeah.
Phone rings, around 1?
1:30.
Yeah, the phone is to be up at Pat's as soon as we can. Well, Pat just lived Center Road, probably 5 miles north of us
Yeah.
in Tyrone Township. We were in Heartland. And, the bottom, I knew right then,
Wow.
And she's, maybe he just got hurt. And I said, they don't call at this time of night.
Yeah.
The trip up there was agonizing because
Oh, yeah.
we wanted to think it was something.
Yeah, you want to not believe
You're,
what
you're trying to think of the most positive, negative thing you could think of, right?
Right.
You want to not believe what you know
Yeah.
is true.
Yeah, so you get there.
Your brain is fighting itself.
All right, so you get there. He's gone. You
The
guys-
police cars are there, and
Yeah. So tell me about the funeral, because that's got to be a sight, right?
I still can't get my head around that. My head's still spinning from the whole everything. It all happened so fast.
Yeah.
And it's kind of thing, it can happen, and you put it to the back of your head.
Yeah.
And years go by, and it doesn't happen, but it's still there. And then when it happens, boom, it all comes forward. And
Right.
It's just like your whole brain wants to explode. You can't.
Right.
You don't know how to. You can't think a straight thought all the way through to the end. It's
Yeah,
like the
'cause you
brain
got-
just keeps resetting itself.
Right, and that's the depression of it, right? And
So-
I should have known, or what could I said? And there's nothing. There's nothing. But you're trying to trick yourself into going, well, I could have, I should
Oh
have.
yeah. Oh, I had terrible guilt because I'm the one who talked him into going to the job.
Yeah, you
but-
talked him into doing something he loved to do. That's terrible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. That's what everybody's told me. No,
Yeah.
he was made for that. He would have ended up doing it somehow.
Yeah.
But the funeral itself was, again, I'm stumbling for the words to
Yeah.
describe it now.
Well, this actually works out great because we got to take another break. And when we get back, we'll get you the words on it. If you've not gone to Spiritual Warfare Unit, like, share, and subscribe. If you want to check out what they're doing, go to Patrick O'Rourke Memorial Scholarship Fund.org. Sit tight. We'll be right back. I was like, no way. So people that are talking about breaking the rules use their fingers to speak to each other. And that's what gangs do to communicate from point A to point B. It's almost like this has been in the Bible for 2,000 years. And people feel like it's a new thing. That is unbelievable, isn't it? That things that are happening in your life today are in here from 2,000 years ago. That's very weird.
You love me too much to let me stay this way. Jesus, there's freedom in your name.
All right, welcome back to the Warriors Way. Our Warriors this week are Dan and Arlene O'Rourke, and they were just talking about Patrick and how he had got shot in the line of duty. And we had just got to the funeral, which this had ended up being a national press released because of the scenario and how long that the standoff had gone. And so I have to imagine dealing with the site of that, because they would have done the whole.
Well, the funeral, Pat was killed a week before at St. John's. They do one of these fall things with the carnival and, St. John's Catholic Church down in Fenton there. Mm-hmm. They had the Ferris wheels and a big circus thing and all. It's called Apple Fest.
Okay.
Every year. Well, Pat was killed a week before that. The funeral took place the weekend, was Friday, wasn't it? Yeah.
Friday.
Of Apple Fest.
Apple Fest. So, and the SMART team, the sheriff's municipal, whatever, the ones who put all this stuff together, these police funerals, somehow they converted all these tents that had for Las Vegas night and fish fries and all that other stuff into satellite churches. Big screens on the TVs.
Yeah.
So they estimated there was somewhere between 6,000 and 7,000 people at that funeral.
Yeah, wow.
And they accommodated all of them. It's just, I still can't, Pat was buried right across the street.
Yeah.
I don't know how they could have done it.
All right. So it was an excellent send-off for the work and service of the man he is. And on behalf of the community, I just want to say thank you.
I learned something else, though, that they do something at these funerals called last call. Are you familiar with that? Where they have the whole, like this, they have the whole radio thing set up on a table there, and then they do just dispatch.
Right.
The whole thing,
Yeah, car 55.
Radio 55 come in, no answer. They do that 3 times, and then they say, Radio 55, last call.
And it's just a heartbreaker.
Oh, I know.
I know. I'm sitting there thinking of the ones that I know. I'm trying not to get emotional right now. Yeah, it's that final.
What I didn't know was that goes out live to all the cars on the road.
Yeah. Everybody gets a piece of that. Yeah, it's extremely emotional because it's the end, and it's fitting, but it sucks, but it's fitting, Yeah,
also, at the funeral home, when Pat was in, at Elton Black Funeral Home, they had a brand new Charger out in front of the place, all shiny, West Bloomfield Police, big wreath on the window, and everybody thought that was Pat's car.
Yeah.
And I said, that wasn't Pat's car. Pat drove 318, the Crown Vic.
Yeah.
That was his. That's what the one he always used. Then at the cemetery, when we were going across the street, my head spinning now thinking about the riderless horse,
Yeah.
the carriage and everything, and thousands of cops across the street. The police dogs are all lined up, and when that hearse goes by, the dogs all start crying. And parked next to them was 318. I said, that's Pat. That's the car Pat drove.
Yeah.
So then shortly after, a few weeks afterwards, I asked Mike Patton, the chief, I said, can I get a hold of that car somehow? I'd like to buy it.
Yeah.
And he said, well, we've never sold a car. We can't, township owns it. We don't own it.
Yeah.
He says, usually they go to ordinance enforcement, they beat them to death, and then it goes to auction.
Yeah.
He said, so it'd probably be a piece of junk by the time you get. So he called me back a couple of weeks later and says, you still want the car? I said, yeah. He said, well, they can't give it to you legally, because you have to pay something for it.
Yeah.
And he said, well, the board said, okay, they'll pull it out of service and, we'll sell it to you.
Wow.
So he got it.
So, all right. So you get the car. What was your initial thought of doing what you did with it?
No,
or was it just to have it?
I just wanted a piece of Pat to hang on to,
Got
I
it.
guess.
Okay.
You know what I mean? A physical thing.
This is his. I can go sit in it. I can smell it. I can
Right.
drive it. I can do.
And they had taken all their
stripped
stuff off it,
Oh yeah, they take the stuff off. Okay, so it's stripped. All right. So when did the epiphany go? Hey, how long was that process?
I can't remember exactly where we were, but this.
Cops on a run.
Yeah, there was something called Cops on a Run. For this memorial up in Lansing, Michigan Falls Heroes thing.
All right. What year are we at now?
Probably 13.
Yeah, I would.
2013. So it was a couple years that you just kind of sat with it.
Well.
Yeah, no, 12. It was
12 is
probably a
when-
couple months.
Yeah.
Oh, so
Just a couple months. And a guy named Jeff Gomez, he's an Orchard Lake officer.
Yeah.
He loved Crown Victorias.
yeah.
So in his off time, he worked at a place called ABC Transportation. A friend of his owned it, an older guy.
Yeah.
And they converted old Crown Vics into taxi cabs or refurbished them for smaller departments.
No
that couldn't
kidding.
afford new cars.
So he came to you?
He came to me and said, why don't you make a memorial car?
There it is. Okay, so he came to you and said, "Let's make this a memorial car," and you just jumped on it.
The first thing he did, we took it down there. They went all through it, fixed all the shorts that were in the system because when they took something out,
They're just ripping it.
they just cut the wires and took their stuff.
Yeah, of
the
course.
computer and all that.
Yeah.
So they fixed all the electrical stuff, and of course they made it so the back doors would work, and so the windows would work, and because the back door was basically a jail.
Well, yeah. They do put people in there from time to time. They don't want to get out.
And then we were going on this Cops on a Run thing, the FOP Lodge in Hazel Park, the FOP 130.
Okay.
They would do this when these motorcycles would ride from there to Howell to somewhere else. I forget. Anyway, they ended up in Lansing.
Hold on, you're going too fast. Let's back up. All right. So how long did it take to fix the car to where it's at now? It is show worthy.
Well, I was talking about this thing in Lansing because that's where we met this guy from Priority 1 Emergency.
Okay.
They're outfitters.
All right.
He said, why don't you make it a memorial car? He said the same thing that Jeff said.
Okay.
He said, bring it down to our shop.
All right. How long was that after you had him first start working on it? Was it like right away?
Probably a month
few
or two.
months, yeah.
Wow.
1 month or two. I took it down there. You ever seen the show Overhauling?
Yes.
Okay. I brought it down there. I left it there. He says, well, let's put a push bar on it. Da-da-da-da-da. He's going to do this. We'll fix this. We'll fix that.
Yeah.
I said, we'll work out a budget. He says, yeah, no problem. We can do that later. It won't be a whole lot. So I left it there, and he kept it for 5 days.
Okay.
And then he called me and said, why don't we just finish the whole job and make it look exactly like it did when he drove it, right down to the last screw?
And what did you say?
I said, I don't think that's legal. I said, he says, so you know the chief, call him.
Yeah.
So I called Mike. I said, they want to make it like it was when it was on the road.
Mm-hmm.
He says, I won't tell you no. He says, I said, well, you get with the board and stuff, and you call him back and tell him what he can do.
Yeah.
How's that?
And what was the emotion like when you got that yes? That had to be really good.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I mean, I was just kind of astounded that he'd say that, really. So anyways, we go down there to Canton, and it's like overhaul. We're out in the parking lot. He's got to stand out in the parking lot.
Waiting for it to come out like they do on the television
Comes
show?
around the corner. All
right, how nervous are you?
The lights are going.
How nervous are you before you saw it?
Oh, I was just kind of anxious more than nervous.
Okay.
I saw
Lights and sirens going?
Holy crap.
It was more than we expected.
Yeah.
I didn't expect the light bar and all.
So what happened with the emotions? You had to. I'd have been tearing up if that was me, right?
Oh, yeah. It was just overwhelming, And then, as I said, I probably burned 20 million calories polishing it.
Yeah. It's gorgeous. It looks
Then we got
amazing.
invited to go to the Woodward Dream Cruise.
All right. So that all happened in the same year.
Yeah.
Just bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
Okay. Because so you're sitting there and you're doing this, and this is all in remembrance of your son, which is also helping with the grief process, right? We talked about it a little
Big
bit.
time.
So tell people how that helped you real quick before we finish it.
Yeah, well, it was, I was always worried about him, I was working when this happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a couple of weeks off and then went back, but I didn't want to leave him. Because he would have been all by himself, and I know how horribly this affected him.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we had this opportunity to buy the car, I thought that was excellent because it'd be so cathartic for him.
Sure.
And he loves cars. He's a detailer. And I knew that sitting in the seat that Pat sat in and holding the wheel that Pat held, that it would really, really help him in his grief journey.
All right. That's the part I want to get. And before we move forward, you said you lost how many calories? How many coats do you think you put out? Because that thing is clean.
Yeah, well,
I bet you there's 50 coats of wax on that sucker easily.
Yeah, she shines.
Yeah, she's clean.
And we keep it in our garage, One of our cars
Well,
has been relegated to the
you let the
driveway.
other crap day-to-day car get the...
Yeah, our insurance runs from April till October, and
Yeah,
from October we drop all the coverage except comprehensive on the full car, and it's just in storage.
Okay, so this all happened in a year. You're doing all this stuff. It had to be exciting because you're seeing everybody else supporting what you're doing. When did you decide to do those coins? Like, when did that happen?
That had to do with the golf outing. That was Bob Bazat got this idea that we should do something to keep the legacy alive of Pat, and maybe use it as a training thing for young guys and stuff.
Now, how long was that after you did this?
Okay, well, we have to back
14?
up a little.
Yeah.
Because this all came about when I retired. I used to work for the county, Livingston County.
So how long was that process?
Well, that was in 2015 when,
So it'd be like 3 years
when
then.
we were encouraged to do these golf outings.
All right, so were you doing the car shows already?
No.
Oh, yeah, we were.
Oh, were we?
2012, 2013, 2014?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So you're taking out the car places
Yeah.
after that. Okay. So people are seeing you're doing this.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
They had heard about the car and invited us,
Yeah. Okay. So you're doing this, and then you retired from
Yeah,
the county.
I retired in 2000.
And then how did it all happen? Somebody came to you and said, "We all use this for the academy." How did that work with
What's
the
that?
golf outing?
Are you talking about the car?
The golf outing.
Oh, okay. No, that's when I was getting ready to retire. I wanted to have lunch with different people that, like a goodbye, farewell lunch. So I had a relationship with the sheriff. So we set a date to meet, and I invited Dan. I said, "You want to come along?" He says, "Yeah, sure." So we did. We met, and so Bob suggested that during our retirement, he said we might want to consider having fundraisers because he had a deputy that had been killed like 20 years prior. And that's what they did.
Okay.
They started golf outings and fundraisers, for scholarships. And he said they're still going on.
Wow.
Now they've morphed to going to Vegas,
Nice.
So when he said this, we just looked at each other. We don't know anything
I ain't a
about
golfer, neither she. We don't know
yeah, we
squat
don't know
about golf.
nothing about golf.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, I tell you what." He said, "If you can get a committee together," and he said, "We'll help you." So they did. They helped us through that first year, and then it was very successful. And then it kind of took on a life of its own.
All right.
But-
Before we get to that life its own, we got to go to a break again. I told you it's going by quick. If you guys want to check out what they're doing, which we're going to say next, is going to be Patrick O'Rourke Memorial Scholarship Fund.org. You can check out what they're doing. Hit like and subscribe on Spiritual Warfare Unit. Sit tight. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm here with Chad. He's here with our drug dog, Hans, and he's been a big hit at the Depson Dogs. Tell everybody a little bit about Hans for us.
Hans is the man. Hans loves to find drugs. We take Hans and we search different rehab facilities, schools. We actually got Hans to serve the public. So, anybody in the public sector that wants any type of search, if you send a kid to rehab and you want your house swept before you come home, feel free to give us a call. Schools, they're a great deterrent as well.
I'm here with the regional chaplain down Genesee County. Kenny is here. They do great work inside the jail. Can you tell us a little bit about the programs that you guys have inside the jail?
Yeah, we have an opportunity that the sheriff allows us to come into the jail as guests to share the gospel of Jesus Christ with each one of the inmates that want to hear that. We have programs within inside the jail that we have Bible studies, we have people that come in and do one-on-ones as the inmates request it, but all of that's an opportunity to give them a choice at a different life than with the choices that they've been made to get here.
Outstanding. And they're one of our partners in the community to help people who are one of the people that help win, help us, help you, help those people around. I'm here with AJ. He's one of the committee members from Back to the Bricks. How do you think it's going today, bud?
Good. Yeah, I mean, everybody's here. Everybody seems happy, and we're doing it up in Flint just right.
Yeah, it's been a really good time. We're right by the jail, hanging out with some been very cool cars. And right to our left is their son was a deputy who had passed away. And so what they do is they have his car come out and they show it off at the different shows. We're sitting down here with UCAN and Reach the Forgotten, Spiritual Warfare Unit, and Depson Dogs, and Back to the Bricks, of course, with the cars, because you guys are the cool kids.
We try.
You do it good. All right, we'll be around. And I'm glad to be a help. I love what you're doing. All right, welcome back to the Warriors Way. Our Warriors this week are Dan and Arlene, and we're on our third section, which is our gem session, where we ask our guests to give us a funny story. And Arlene, you had something for us.
We've been to a lot of events, parades, and this year was the first time we had ever been to Back to the Bricks in Flint. And we were invited to the cruise, which is the parade, and then we, of course, were at the fair in front of the jail. We have a real close friend. His name's Bill, and his wife was in one of the, in fact, it was here in this parking lot. They had vendors, and his wife was here with her.
She's from the airport.
She works for the airport, the Bishop Airport. So Bill, we told Bill he could hang out with us, and he was all excited about that. So when it came time for us to get into the parade, he got in the back seat, and then as we're kind of starting out, we were kind of joking about him being in the back seat, being a prisoner, and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And we have a set of handcuffs in the glove box.
All right.
So then we just kind of further, we're saying, well, we should put the
Well, we're going down Saginaw, and people are laughing, cracking up, saying, hey, they got a guy
Yeah,
in the
got a
back
guy
seat.
in the seat.
So we handcuffed Bill.
Yeah, but Bill put his
Yeah.
hat on like backwards
Yeah.
and put up.
You
there, so
did
he
not.
looked like a thug.
And he had
Like you were just going through the crowd with a guy in the back
right,
seat.
right. He had the window down.
Yeah.
And
people
we
are
had
cracking
cuffed,
up.
we cuffed him in the front.
Yeah, I told her there's cuffs in the glove box.
Yeah.
Put them on Bill.
Yeah. So
That's
then
hilarious.
Bill's, putting his arms out, acting like he's, help me,
Yeah.
know. And people were cracking up. And Bill was like a little kid. I mean, he just laughed and just got the biggest kick out of doing
We're
that.
going down Saginaw, and some guy yells out, West Bloomfield, I know that car. He yells out. And it was your sheriff. It was Chris.
Swanson.
Yeah, right. The Swanson. Oh yeah.
So now Bill, anytime we're going to do anything with the car, he wants to come.
He wants to be the guy in the back.
The prisoner, yeah.
That's
With a
perfect.
bandana on his head.
Yeah, right. Man, that's so great. Thank you for that story. All right, so we were just getting into doing the golf get together, and you guys put this together for what? Fundraising for what specifically?
Well, we had called it scholarship at first, and after our first outing, we had no idea where the money was going to go. We hadn't
Yeah.
even decided that yet.
Okay.
One of the gals, in fact, the gal, there were two officers that came to our son's house the night that she was notified.
Liaison officer.
One
Right.
was a female, one was a male, and the female was named Tara Kane. Well, Tara, she was working for West Bloomfield. Well, she's since moved on, and she's got into training at Madonna University.
Okay.
So she was the only person we could think of that might be able to help us decide what to do with this money. So we had breakfast with her, and she suggested that we check out the academy that Pat graduated from, and she gave us some names and numbers. Well, then that's how it all came to be. We went and talked to them at Schoolcraft, and then they had suggested we open up an endowment, and
Okay.
then they told us how to go about with these cash awards that we give to the graduates.
All right, so let's explain what you do. So you get like I don't know, how much money would you get from a golf outing?
Oh,
Like
well.
5,000, 10,000, 2,000.
10, 15,000.
Wow. All right. So let's just say 10,000 because the math would be simpler for us dumber people. And you get $10,000, and then how much or how many academy people did that help? Like, how did you dispense it? How did that work?
The way it started, because we didn't have a lot of money at first.
Right.
The first year, we only did one graduate, and we were able to give him like $1,200, $1,250.
All right. Now hold on. Now,
Back up, yeah, because
yeah.
we didn't know exactly how to pick.
Right.
What do we do?
Yeah.
And well, they said, well, have the guys write essays.
Okay.
And then I think Cade told me that, Bob told me that, Murphy told me that. They said, try to pick somebody that you think was like Pat.
Right.
I said, well, how do you, they said, well, if you think your son wrote that essay, that's how, that was my guideline. They
So
said,
that's how you pick them. If that sounded like what my son would say, that's the guy or girl.
And you can kind of tell, if they're.
No, I couldn't. Tell us, how could you tell?
People, well, you could get a feeling when people are just writing what they think you want to hear.
Okay.
Because I'm especially impressed when they don't tell me they wanted to be a cop from the time they were 2 years old or something.
Yeah.
Because I don't look at that as a career, it's a vocation to me.
Right.
And it's something that, you're kind of drawn to.
Right.
You don't just always want to
Yeah,
do
it kind of picks you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so you're looking for that. So, all right, so how many essays did you get the first time?
Well, probably 11 or 12, I think.
Oh, and you guys both reading them, or did you have help, or how'd that work?
We include Pat's brothers.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I send them to them, and then they all read them, and then they give us some feedback.
So you made it a family thing to help them with it too. See,
Well, technically, the endowment is the O'Rourke family.
yeah.
That's, so when Dan and I are no longer able to do this, if the kids want to pick it up, or the grandkids, they want to continue fundraising, they can. But the endowment also has taken on a life of its own, and when we're not doing this anymore, there's interest that comes
It'll go
off.
on forever.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
It earns interest, and it will.
All right, well, I got it. We'll get there. We're skipping a couple pieces here before we get there. All right, so you're doing this, and you get 11 essays. Like, how long did it take to pick the first person?
Well, we
well.
only have a small window.
Okay.
Because when they give us the essays, it's like maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the actual graduation.
So you got some time.
A little bit.
Because
yeah.
when you said like no time,
yeah,
I'm thinking like 2 days, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
no, it's
But when you
nothing
have
like that.
11 or 12 to go through,
yeah, yeah. So you took the time.
Yeah.
So you made your decision, and you picked the first one.
Yeah,
and
well,
then-
we've never seen this guy. We don't know anything about these people other than what they wrote.
That's perfect.
Yeah,
And so we pick a name. We go to the first graduation.
Yeah, that's where but you're reading my mind. All
And
right.
it turns out that the guy that we picked was the leader of the class.
No
And
kidding.
It also turns out that West Bloomfield hired him.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah,
So
On the first one,
Full-
so
full
exactly
circle.
came full circle.
And they love,
Wow.
they love him. They
Yeah.
just love. They said you don't have to ask him twice to do something. That he's
No kidding.
He's so in tune.
Blake Hayes.
Yeah, they love him.
No kidding. He's still there now?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. And so this has been going on. So what year was that?
What?
2014, 2013?
15, I think.
15. Well, no, the outing was 15, so it was probably 16, like May of 16, because it took us our outing was in September.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, this was
That-
what, the 8th or 9th?
Yeah, but
just
see,
count
he's
back.
talking about the first one, right?
Yeah, so the first time you disseminated. So it's
Yeah.
2015, 2016.
Yeah,
So
it was in 2016.
So for the last 7 years, you said this has just been growing.
Right.
So how many do you get to disseminate now
Well,
each year?
last year, there's 2 graduations in a year.
Okay.
So last year, in the May graduation, we gave 3 $2,500 awards.
Wow.
Then in November, we gave 4 $2,500 rewards.
Wow.
Awards.
And how much does that school cost, just so I...
Oh,
People-
about 8,000.
All right, so you're taking care of 25% of the total cost
Yeah.
off of an essay of which person's personality reminds you most of your son's as far as his career. That is... The reason why I find this extraordinary is because the support that you guys did for your son and the reasons why you're doing what you're doing is not normal. A lot of people just go into that depression mode and they don't find a way out, right? But you guys chose to take the things that he did for his life and create a positive that you could inject back into others. And so what he has done has become a legacy versus a statistic. And the difference between those two things is big. And you guys did that. And so I got to meet you just sitting out there. That story right there.
I got to say one more thing, because, I mean, it would be terrible if I didn't. That this big money that we're handing out now,
Yeah.
we have like silent partners now with another golf outing that bears the same name as ours.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Miller is a coworker. He was a West Bloomfield police officer.
Yeah.
Him and his wife Marissa, she's a Bloomfield Township cop.
Uh-huh.
They have a foundation called the Crosshairs Foundation.
Okay.
Their main focus was battered wives and that sort of thing and helping people.
Yeah.
And Joe got real involved with us,
Yeah.
and now he's our biggest supporter. You know, there's a one
Yeah.
year he gave us like $10,000.
Yeah.
'Cause they do this outing at Tamashanner
Yeah, yeah.
over in West Bloomfield.
Okay.
You know, and now Joe and Marissa are a part of our committee that selects the people.
Right. Well, the thing is about this, and thank you for letting people know the support that you're getting. And it
Yeah,
makes sense that people support what you're doing because you're supporting people that go into this, that vocation chose them, and their reason for doing it is because they love their community and want to help their community keep it safe. That is the main function of what it is, and you're supporting that kind of process and picking people that believe that through the essays. That in itself is amazing. Just put that to the side. Then on top of that, you took his car, got it completely redone. You take it out to places to let people know that it's cool and then that there is a process and that people care about him and it matters what happens to him. And then you do that. And then on top of that, then you help your friends who gets just to be the guy stuck in the back who's having a great time, right? And then on top of that, you made sure that this moves on so your kids and grandkids can have a part of this. So all of the things that you're doing is simply just to help out your community and help out your family with this thing. And instead of having a loss, you created a massive gain, right? Do you understand that, like, that's what you've created for your community, is a gain for people who care about their community, because that could be them. They could be Pat, and you respect that. You see what I mean?
You get in these parades, 4th of July parades or whatever, and people will salute that car when it goes by.
Right.
We get trophies at these little mini car shows and stuff, for, emergency vehicles and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it ain't the car, the car is just a car,
Yeah.
It's what the car stands for that gets the
story.
The trophy.
And like when I came up to you, I think we talked for about 30 seconds, and I went, I want to have you on my show, because I wanted to be able to let people hear this story, because it's, as much as it's about your son and what he did, which it is for you, for the people that watch this, that kind of stick-to-itiveness and love that you had for your family to continue this on, that belief, that American dream, that each life matters and we're going to celebrate the life of those things. And that's what you chose to do. Like, you chose to do that. It's so extraordinary to me, because that's not the average. The average is to go, oh, poor, I'm a victim, poor me, but you didn't do that. You survived this environment, and you produced an outcome that helps your community. And for me, I'm always looking for that. That was the whole reason I had you on here, because so many times when we go through difficulties in our life, like with me, it was a car accident. With you, it was your son passing away. And those things are extremely difficult and dark and difficult to get through. But there's a choice. There's a choice between allowing that thing to crush you, or you use that thing as a platform to build. And you chose to build. And I just want to let you know how much I appreciate what you're doing. And that part is super amazing. If you have not gone to Patrick O'Rourke Memorial Scholarship Fund.org, please check that out. If that's something that you want to donate to or be a part of, you can let them know there. And you said your golf outings are in September. Your last one was just the 9th?
Yeah.
Right? So you said you do 2 a year now? Golf outings?
We do. There is a separate golf outing, but that one gives us support, but not, they also have their other things that.
Right. Okay. So the main one then is in September.
Yeah, well, this next year is going to be August 18th.
It'll be in August.
August 18th.
Yeah.
All right. So people can go on Patrick O'Rourke Memorial Scholarship Fund.org and check that. Man, that's a mouthful. Woo!
The hardest thing at this point in time is every time we hear of another line of duty death.
Yeah.
You get the flashback,
Yeah.
But what really hurts is that the pain those people are going through.
Right.
And we send them cards to let them know they're not alone,
Absolutely.
And that first year, for 2 years in Pat's case, is you learn things that make you more proud than you could have ever imagined, because it's things you didn't even know that your son did.
Yeah.
And that rising level of pride raises the level of grief. And then you learn some more stuff, and it just keeps that first 2 years, you get prouder and prouder and prouder of, oh my God, I had no idea he did all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then, you miss them all the more. But
right. But the thing is you're putting it in a position where other people are going through what you through, but they don't have to go through it alone because you're there, right?
Absolutely.
Because you're doing that. And that in itself is unbelievable. With that, Dan and Arlene, I just want to say thank you so much for going on. If you've not gone to Spiritual Warfare Unit on YouTube and liked and shared, this is your last chance. We're about to finish up. Please check out Patrick O'Rourke Memorial Scholarship Fund.org. If that's something you're interested in helping out with, please let them know and get in touch with them. Thank you so much for coming in. You guys have a great day, and we will see you next week.
Radio to all units. We are calling air clearance on Channel 1. All others go to Channel 2. Radio is going to be on the air for a moment of silence to honor Sergeant Patrick O'Rourke, Badge 55, who on this day 10 years ago made the ultimate sacrifice, protecting and serving our community of West Bloomfield. Patty, you were a loving father, husband, son, brother, and protector of our community. You are still greatly missed by your family, friends, brothers, and sisters at the West Bloomfield Police Department. 10 years have already passed, but your heroic legacy will live on forever. Sergeant Patrick O'Rourke, Badge 55, May you rest in eternal peace. Radio's clear at 12:55 hours.